I'd love to hear from you a little bit about some of the people who are doing really well today and some of the things that you see them doing. Like people who are having the best success, what do they have in common? And what could people try to do to emulate that?
Yeah, I think the people who have the best success really treat the FEC side as a business and have somebody who is focused on it, that's in management, and that wants to continuously learn. Because there's a lot of moving parts, like I said, and you can keep getting better at it. There's a lot of people in the bowling world that make a lot of money and are still leaving money on the table. So it's kind of a tricky thing when someone's making higher profits than they've ever made in any business before in their lives. Right. A lot of times after years and years of running businesses, to tell them like you're not really doing that great. Like we're talking about, making obscene profits. Like, yeah, you are, because the model's good, but there's more. So we find that a lot. But so I think it requires it to be treated like its own business. At one time it was more like with video games, right? There's no payouts, there's no prizes, a lot less moving parts. A lot of the redemption games where you win tickets, like down the clown, like you're throwing a ball, and there's lots of mechanical stuff that breaks. So at one time you could pretty much keep everything clean and let the arcade run and make a little bit of extra money. But this needs to be its own business.
So are you guys primarily? I guess I didn't ask that before. Is primarily redemption is mainly what you're looking at? Yeah,
and in redemption, just mechanically keeping things running. Even one of our early clients was Bowl New England, now Spare Time Entertainment, and they've been very successful. We recently started working with them again to as they keep growing, to start looking at optimizing their facilities. And we find lots of things. And I would put them as one of the better operators, but there's still lots of stuff that we can find. Maintenance issues. Over time, people start to lose keys and not keep a key program together. There's so many little things that happen. Another thing that is interesting is we're seeing bowling coming into other businesses. So another really strong operator, you have Synergy Entertainment, right? They have movie theaters, and then they have bowling, also arcade and FEC. B&B Theaters, they're one of our clients. Similar, they're I think third generation, could be fourth, cinema operator, but they're all their new models that they're building have bowling in it, as well as an arcade and a bar and a restaurant.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of different guys who own cinemas, and they say they don't want to do any new ones unless it has bowling in it, because you need that, like you were saying earlier, you need that other attraction to be able to bring more people in.
Yeah, well, I think it's a similar concept, because in a cinema, like if you think you're going to the movies, you're usually just going to the movie and leaving. You're not usually wanting to hang out. If there's an arcade, you might play a few games, but it's like a different psychology. But when you have bowling, especially with a bar and restaurant, then people will go there even when they're not going to the movies, and that's what you want. It can help your movie traffic too, but you want to see people in there hanging out, you still want them going to the movies, of course, but you want them coming, making second and third visits.
Exactly. I mean, it's tough to get in and out of a bowling center in under 2 hours. I mean, realistically, it's not happening. Especially if you throw food in the mix, you're hanging.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you go to see like Guardians of the Galaxy for 3.5 hours, maybe that night you're not going to spend another 2.5 hours in the bowling alley. Some people will, but some people are ready to go home.
Right. Yeah. Well, and another point is that, with Hollywood putting out a lot fewer movies lately, they need something to rely on. That's the guy that I talked to a couple episodes back said that they're beholden to these guys and they're not putting a lot out. So they live or die by these releases, and they need something else that they can grab onto.
Yeah. Combined with the fact that the cinemas take on average 57% of that ticket. Right. So you buy a movie ticket, the cinema's taken, it's like 80 something in the beginning, it depends, but overall it's like 57%. And they're not taking that off the top from any of the other pieces of the businwe right? Yeah. If you have they're not taking any of the arcade, they're not taking any of the food and beverage, not taking any of them. So.
Yeah. But they have the space and the traffic. So, like we were saying, it's economies of scale for one location, but you have 3 different businesses inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Your infrastructure, I guess, is all shared, but your product lines are different.
Yeah.
Very cool. So one thing really quick, going back to what you said about treating it as a separate business, Were you saying that you would not want to have some kind of like FEC manager that's separate from some of the other things? Or what were you talking about when you said you wanted to have someone dedicated towards that specific business line?
Yeah, an FEC manager.
Okay.
Absolutely. A lot of times people will take like an hourly employee and kind of put them in charge.
Yeah.
But I think you need someone who's going to be with you for a while, that's pretty well paid, assuming that you're at a scale that you can afford it, which most bowling centers are.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need someone focused on that business.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be making a huge investment like that, you might as well pay up a little bit extra to get your return out of it.
Exactly. And I think that depending on the size of the chain, you also want your GMs or your district managers or your CEO to at least have some knowledge about what's going on to be able to ask questions. A lot of times it gets left aside. Like they know you find a lot of people that come from bowling and a lot of people that come from food and beverage managing these types of centers. And like one of our colleagues who works with us now, Nick DiMatteo, came from Dave & Buster's. They had the same issue at Dave & Buster's. A lot of the GMs come from the food and beverage side.
Right.
And even though the arcade and entertainment side is a huge chunk of profits, they don't really know it. Like they know the kitchen inside and out.
Right.
They know the restaurant inside and out. And then they wind up like at times that the arcade can be left to its own. But you got to have senior management also at least partially focused on it, if that makes sense. Because if they're not focused on it, then it's not important to the GM. So it can have a way of just being left on its own because it can still make a lot of money, like I said before. Sure. And it's like, oh, I have so much to do, I'll just won't mess with that because it's doing fine. It's all automated.
Right, and they don't know how to work it. And I think a lot of it is just that there's a lot fewer of them. I mean, there's more today, but overall, in the grand scheme, if you compare the amount of restaurants that there are out there compared to these types of facilities, it's just a smaller pool to be able to take people from and put them into that management position.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, did you like this video? Great. We make 10 of them a week. Subscribe to learn more and keep learning about what's working in the industry. Talk to you then.